All right, everyone. I think we're live. Thanks a lot for being here. This is the very first stream ever on My Left Eye, and we've been delighted with the number of subscribers that we've received recently. This is kind of a celebration at passing over 500 subscribers, and well, in fact, we've now gone over 600. So if you've subscribed recently, thanks so much for that. Thanks a lot for checking out our content, and also for your amazing comments on the videos. It's great to see so much debate going on and people adding new information to the topics and subjects that the videos are on. And yeah, it's been really informative, as well as seeing so many new people coming to the channel as well. So thanks a lot for that. Right, first of all, I'll go through what's going to be coming up on the live stream. We've got plenty of clips to get through and some news articles. As we said in the title of the live stream, a lot of that is going to surround the ongoing situation in Gaza. There's been some breaking news stories today on that, as well as the Rochdale Labour candidate who's caused a bit of a stir with his comments about what happened on October the 7th last year. We're also going to be looking at how his campaign has been going not so well in the seat. That's due to, obviously, Kier Starmer and the Parliamentary Labour Party's current stance on a ceasefire in Gaza. Back in November, most of the Labour Party abstained on the vote, which prevented the motion for a ceasefire from going through. There were some Labour MPs who voted for the ceasefire, but the stance of Kier Starmer and the Labour whips was for everyone to abstain. So we're going to be going into that. Just want to give a couple more minutes while we welcome everybody to the stream. We're going to be kicking off with a parody music video shortly. I don't know if you've seen this on your social media recently. It's a take on Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, which features a couple of jabs at Benjamin Netanyahu and Joe Biden, who's been picking up the nickname Genocide Joe recently. And just want to remind everybody, you're more than welcome to add your comments in the chat. Please do let us know your thoughts about the articles that we're going to be going through, all of the clips, or if you just want to say hello, let us know what you're up to tonight. It'd be great to hear from you. As I said before, it's been great to pick up so many new viewers on the channel recently, so it'd be great to know your thoughts, get to know you a little bit. If you just want to say hello or let us know what's on your mind at the moment about the topics in hand. Yeah, so feel free to do that. If you're watching it on a playback, on a replay, then just add your comments, and as always, we'll try and get back to you on the comments as soon as possible. So I guess we'll get cracking with the first clip tonight. As I said, this is a comedy song, a parody song, and I can't take the credit for this. A guy called Andrew Marte, I believe he's called, has put this together. He's done some other parody songs in the past, but this is his most recent one that came out during the week, and really hope you enjoy this. I wanted to start, we're going to be going into some heavy topics, so I wanted to start off with something a little bit more jovial, and if you've not seen it before, then this is the video. Enjoy, everyone, and then we'll come back and dive right into the clips from recent protests, demonstrations, news appearances, and everything else that's been surrounding the ongoing occupation of Gaza.
Alright, listen, man. Looking in your eyes, I see that we're aligned. This war that we fund is too good to be true. America's beside you, all these bombs to give you. Our whole GDP will just wire to you.
Let them say we're psychos. I don't care about that. History started when Hamas launched their attack. Let the whole damn region just fall apart, where the persecuted ones so have a heart. And we can win this thing together, ethnic cleanse forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now. And when the strip runs out of Gazans, we'll go kill their cousins. The Hague ain't gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us now. Low, low. I'm so glad we're bombing. This war is super calming. A ceasefire would mean I'd be going to jail.
Folks say it's unlawful, and yeah, the polls are awful, but Trump's on the ballot. Of course I'll prevail.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let them say it's genocide. What do they know? So you bomb the Gazans right where you tell them to go.
If we kill a hostage, or maybe 3, that's the price we pay to save ethnocracy.
You mean democracy?
And we can win this thing together. Human rights, whatever. Nothing's going to stop us now. So let the courts keep pressing charges.
These block our barges.
Nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's going to stop us now.
All that I need is you.
You're all that I ever need.
And all that I want to do is back you forever, forever and ever. Play it, Tony.
Yes, Mr. Blinken, yes.
Oh yeah, that's smooth.
Smooth like a 2,000-pound bomb. And we'll just keep committing war crimes, then go do some more crimes. Nothing's gonna stop us now. And you can save your moral sermons, 'cause we've got the Germans. The Hague ain't gonna stop us.
Nothing's gonna stop us.
And we'll create a global crisis, claim Hamas is ISIS. Nothing's going to stop us now.
And if South Africa accuses,
they just hate the Jews. The Hague ain't gonna stop us.
Nothing's gonna stop us.
We'll just keep on genociding.
Baby rides with Biden.
Nothing's gonna stop us now.
Nothing's gonna stop us.
And if our wrath gets any lower, we'll invoke the Shoah. The Hague ain't gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us now or ever.
That's how you sing a goddamn song.
You are correct, sir.
I think that's the take right there, man.
Where's our Nobel Peace Prize?
High five.
Yeah, that's a really funny video. I just wanted to pause it there so I can give full credit to Daniel Marte. Sorry, I got his name wrong earlier. It's not Andrew, it's Daniel Marte. Co-written by Katie Halper as well. You can see that was based on a song originally by Diane Warren and Albert Hammond. That was featured on a 1980s film called The Mannequin from quite a while ago now, but you'll probably be familiar with the original song anyway. And yeah, do check out Daniel Marte's stuff and Kinky Roach Productions on Twitter. That's where I got the clip from here. The voices, the Joe Biden was done by Mike McRae, and Benjamin Netanyahu was done by Daniel Marte himself. So yeah, check that out. I've seen that a few times this week, and I'll be honest, it's got stuck in my head a few times, quite a few times now already. So just wanted to kick off with something a bit more light-hearted as we're going to these heavy-hitting topics. Obviously, this is a massive humanitarian crisis now in Gaza. As I come to you tonight on the stream, unfortunately the latest reports are 28,000 people have been killed since October the 7th last year. Over 80% of the Gazan population, that's way over 1.5 million people, have either been displaced or killed. And over half of the people who've killed, unfortunately, have been women and children. This is ongoing as well as Israel's denial of genocide. There have been accusations brought by South Africa at the International Court of Justice. Obviously, recently, all eyes on Israel at the moment. Other countries refusing now to trade with Israel. There have been other boycotts, which I'm going to go into shortly. For those of you who've been keeping up to our latest content, you'll see that there have been massive reductions in sales from companies who have previously financed or aided Israel, including McDonald's, Starbucks, Unilever, all these kind of companies. We're going to go on to that a bit shortly. But the amount of support for Gazans, the amount of support for Palestinians across the world has been overwhelming. Unfortunately, day after day, we're hearing more stories of tragedy coming out, more stories of genocide, of occupation, and people being shot in broad daylight, as well as aid workers, ambulance staff who were being shot while they're attending what am I trying to say? While they're tending to, I should say, injured victims. And of course, the other week, famous story on ITV came out where they literally just interviewed a man who was holding a white flag and trying to reach an injured person, and was then shot dead right in front of the camera crew, and that was caught on camera as well. Like I said, unfortunately, we're hearing more and more stories like this coming out as the days go by, but there's been a massive amount of demonstration, a massive amount of protest all across the world, and we're going to check out some of those recent ones now, starting here in the UK. Of course, in London, Manchester, Birmingham, Liverpool, cities all over the country, not just in England, also in Scotland, in Wales, in Northern Ireland, and the Republic of Ireland as well. We've seen a massive amount of support. The latest demonstrations in London have been attended by hundreds of thousands of people peacefully protesting, we should say, despite the efforts of the right-wing media to try and highlight one or two troublemakers. You will find that the vast majority of people who attend these protests do so peacefully, and of course people from all faiths and no faith have been coming together. Christians, Jews, Muslims, atheists, you name it, everyone is together in solidarity and showing support for Palestine. And there have been some quite well-known speakers at some of the latest rallies and demonstrations as well, including Jeremy Corbyn, who I'm sure listeners of the channel will already be familiar with as the former leader of the opposition, now standing as an independent in his seat in Islington North in London. But throughout his career, he's been very vocal on calling for a Palestinian state and calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Let's not forget that this didn't just start on October the 7th. This has been an ongoing situation for many decades now, around 75 years since the occupation of Palestine began. And since then, it's become worse and worse. There's been more violence, more death, more displacement of people driven out of their homes as occupiers spread into Palestine. So let's hear from what Jeremy Corbyn had to say. A great orator, as always. And this is a clip from London just last weekend. These are just some of the scenes from London we can see here. I believe around 250,000 people at least attended this demonstration. Demonstrations across the world have seen similar numbers of attendance. Millions of people all across the world every week coming out to call for a ceasefire and end to genocide. Yeah, the Chancellor Rishi Sunak's a wasteman. Obviously, someone who isn't a wasteman is Jeremy Corbyn, and this is what he had to say.
The interim judgment requires that the bombardments end, requires there be no more attacks, and requires that medical aid and water and food get through to the people of Gaza. Well, it's a bit difficult to deliver water, food and medicine if you're being bombed at the same time. There has to be a ceasefire now. And that means those countries, Britain, the USA and others, that are still supplying arms and weapons and military assistance to Israel need to think again. If they read very carefully what the ICJ judgment says, they are also in danger of being arraigned before a court for standing up against the judgment of the ICJ, which says there has to be an end to the fighting. They are...
Absolutely. And not just wanting to be on the right side of history, you want the people who represent you, the party that represents you as a nation, as a country, to be on the right side of history, of course. But after this new ICJ ruling, which says that they are seriously concerned that Israel could be committing genocidal acts, it would be absolutely immoral to continue to supply Israel with weapons, as the United Kingdom and the United States have done for so long now. And the first thing that we need to do to get towards a ceasefire, to get towards a two-state solution, is to stop arming the oppressive state, which in this case is Israel. And the United States and the United Kingdom would be legally complicit, as Corbyn is pointing out there, if charges of genocide do come. Then we will be seen as directly aiding and abetting Israel on this.
Are condoning the fighting. So, time is very limited. I just want to conclude by saying this. We march because we believe. We march because the Palestinian people want and need our support. We've got to take that message to every community, every union branch, all our groups, and turn out as long and as often as it takes, because the people of Palestine need our support. If we don't get a ceasefire here, the war goes on in Iran, in Yemen, in Iraq, in Syria, in Jordan, in the Red Sea, in the Mediterranean. We are the voice for peace. Unlock the process for peace by stopping the fighting and bringing about a ceasefire now in Palestine. Thank you. And the interim...
Couldn't agree more. It's always great to see Jeremy Corbyn speaking, and like I said, he's been very vocal on this issue for a number of years now. And like he pointed out towards the end of his speech, we're not just arming Israel. This conflict is spreading now into a wider regional conflict. We've seen in the last few weeks the United States have begun to bomb Iraq and Syria again, and the UK is getting dragged into this. As always, we appear to be the United States of America's little lapdog. They keep us in their pocket and we just go along with what they do. We've got to be more independent. We've got to show the world that we want to be on the right side of history as citizens, and we really have to stop this escalating out into a regional war. You know, a lot of the media commentators have been discussing recently whether we're on the brink of World War III over this issue. Obviously, the Russia-Ukraine situation has been ongoing for a very long time, but to see this spreading out now into other countries such as, you know, Yemen, Iraq, Iran, Syria, it's getting pretty scary. But the response has been very, very violent as well. It's just inviting attacks. This all sort of started with the Houthi situation, like I'm sure a lot of our listeners will be familiar with. Houthi rebels have attacked shipping that is on its way to Israel, and that is what has dragged America into this. But it's expanding at an exorbitant rate. Please do let us know your thoughts on this and how worried you are about this spreading into a wider situation. Okay. Just want to say hello, FSM Dog, for dropping us a message in the chat. Hope you're well tonight. Hope all of our other listeners are well. Don't forget to share your thoughts As well, if you've not done so already, if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. That will give us a bit of a boost on the algorithm and help to spread the message this evening. Thanks a lot for joining us on the live stream. So Corbyn on point as always there, obviously voted for the motion of a ceasefire in the House of Commons last November. Somebody else who voted for the ceasefire and who is another fantastic politician in Coventry South is Zara Sultana, who is one of the few decent members of the Labour Party, the Parliamentary Labour Party, that you will find. And this is what she had to say at the same rally as Corbyn.
When South Africa brought their case against Israel at the International Court of Justice, our political leaders derided it. The Prime Minister's spokesperson said the case was completely unjustified. The Foreign Secretary said it was nonsense. The Biden administration said it was without any basis in fact. Well, last week the International Court of Justice said something very, very different. It vindicated every single person here. It vindicated what we have been saying for weeks and months. It said that it was plausible that Israel's brutal assault on the Palestinian people in Gaza is in breach of the Genocide Convention, and so it ordered Israel to prevent acts of genocide, and utterly damning judgment and historic victory. So let's be clear that these orders cannot be followed without Israel ending its assault on Gaza. So let's say it again, loud and clear, like we've been doing for months. Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
Just want to quickly jump in there. It's always fantastic to see Zara Sultana speaking at rallies, similar to Corbyn. You know, could watch them go all day, and the passion that's there, and the amount of belief in people coming together, and the power that people have really can make a real difference. And that's just something that she's trying to highlight there. I'll leave the rest of the clip playing on for a bit now.
Today, let's pay tribute not just to the Palestinian people for their bravery, not just to South Africa for bringing this case, but also to every single person here, you and the millions of people across the world who have been marching for peace and justice week in, week out. You have forced the world to listen, and the world is listening. Our work doesn't stop. That ruling should have been a turning point. It should have been a moment long overdue when our government finally changed course. But what has it done instead? Instead, it has suspended funding for UNRWA, the aid agency millions of Palestinians rely on. So let's remember this, and let's make our politicians remember this. When the International Court of Justice ordered Israel to allow emergency aid into Gaza, our government and Israel's allies stopped sending aid into Gaza. So let's say it together. Rishi Sunak, shame on you! Rishi Sunak, shame on you! And we know that our government's complicity doesn't end there. While the government continues to send arms to the Israeli military, we know they are arming war crimes in Gaza. That's why I brought a bill to Parliament to suspend arms sales to Israel and any country that will be using them or might use them in violations of international law.
And that's fantastic. Obviously, unfortunately, excuse me, the vote for a ceasefire didn't go through in November, but that's not going to put Zara Sultana off. She's continuing to use her power as a member of Parliament to put forward a bill that will stop the UK from sending arms and sending financial aid to Israel. I hope that this time around MPs will really take a good look at the morals rather than the careers or whatever the party whips are instructing them to do, and really vote to get this through this time around. We'll keep you up to speed with that situation as it happens. But these are the things that MPs really should be doing to put more political pressure on Israel, and this has got to happen not just in the UK but globally as well.
The government, unsurprisingly, does not support my bill, but I'll bring it forward again and again until The movement that has risen up for Palestine does not end today. We do not stop until there's a ceasefire. We do not stop until the siege is lifted. We do not stop until the occupation ends and Palestine is free. So say it with me. Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Solidarity.
Yeah, relentless as always. We'll keep you up to speed with what happens on that bill. But as long as Zara Sultana's around, the Israeli government and Benjamin Netanyahu are not going to have an easy ride. She was, as I mentioned, of course, one of the 56 Labour MPs who voted for a ceasefire in November. Unfortunately, I think it was 141 abstained, and even some voted against it as well. This is supposed to be a democratic socialist party, and what's happened to Labour since Kier Starmer, who let's remind ourselves is an open Zionist, took over the party, has been unfortunately tragic. The party's gone way downhill, gone backwards in its official stance on this subject, but that has not gone without backlash from the public, as we're going to be diving into shortly when we take a look at how the by-election campaign in Rochdale is going. So just wanted to show you those clips from Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana there. But it's not just members of Parliament who have been outspoken in support for Palestine, in calling for a ceasefire and in calling for an end to the Israeli occupation. Mick Lynch, who's very famous union leader, the Railway Maritime Transport RMT union leader, was also at the rally and gave a fantastic speech as well. So just before we move on and hear what Corbyn has actually had to say this week in the House of Commons itself, we're going to hear from the fantastic Mick Lynch, who, as always, delivered another fantastic speech.
Again, in your hundreds of thousands, the RMT is here simply to express our solidarity with all of you, despite the hate and the bile that comes from the Tories and the right-wingers and the racists in this country. You have come out time and again to put your arms around the Palestinian people, to show your love and solidarity, and that's the job of all of us. Everyone in this country, no matter what our background, no matter what our community, no matter what our religion, we are all working people together. They are working people in Gaza and in the West Bank, and we must show our solidarity. And we call on all of the trade union movement and all of the socialist movement and our Labour Party, stand up and support the people who are being massacred. Stand up against the slaughter. Stand up against genocide and build the bridges of peace.
Oh, sorry, my mic wasn't on there. Mick's absolutely right there. People have got to come together, whether you're in a union or not. If you are working and you are able to join a union, please do so. But people have got to come together all over the world. Again, this isn't a matter of what your faith may or may not be. Christians, Muslims, Jews, all coming together to fight the Zionists, to fight the occupation, and to call for peace, because fundamentally that's what we all want, and that is what we need. We've got 2 million people, 2 million human beings, 2 million souls who are in an increasingly desperate situation in Palestine at the moment, and all you have to do to get behind the ceasefire is to have a heart and look at the situation for what it really is.
On behalf of the people of the world, and especially the people of Palestine, because history will judge us. Where were you in this period? Who did you support? Were you hiding behind your politics, or were you being brave with your principles? So that's what we must do. Call out the politicians. Tell them, stand with the people. Stand with the people that are coming out, with the peacemakers, against the warmongers. Stand with the children. Stand with the innocents that are being slaughtered. That's our job as trade unionists, to protect the vulnerable, to protect those that can't speak for themselves, and those that are being slaughtered under the rubble of Gaza. So come out every week, Come out for the Palestinians. Come out for your own self-respect, that you will fight for justice and peace. You will fight for the Palestinian people, and we will keep going until we have peace in Palestine, peace in the region, social justice, and a Palestinian state of liberty and freedom. Thanks very much. Solidarity, and keep fighting.
Yeah, incredible, as always, from Mick Lynch there. As he mentioned, the protests are not going to stop, the demonstrations are not going to stop. I know that they're happening in major cities every week, all across the country, whether you're in London, Manchester, Birmingham, Leeds, Liverpool, wherever you are. If you've not been to one yet, please do look up where the next demonstration is going to take place. Get down there and show your support. If we all stay together, if we all unite behind what is morally the right thing to do, then we can succeed, and people power throughout history has been shown to have a massive impact. Don't ever forget that either. I know that the Tories are trying to strip us of our right to protest. In fact, while we're on the subject, I just want to mention that in the last week, Starmer, it's hard to tell the difference between them, sorry. Rishi Sunak actually has come out and said that he's going to be banning the wearing of masks at protests. And when you consider that we're just coming out of a COVID pandemic, obviously COVID hasn't been completely eradicated. He's trying to associate people who wear masks with troublemakers, with anti-Semitic behaviour, but that's not the case. Not everybody wants their identity to be known, especially when you're marching in somewhere like London. Obviously, they have things like facial recognition cameras now, and people get profiled and followed around on protests and unnecessarily harassed by the Metropolitan Police about their intentions, about why they're there. And they should really be spending time focusing on the real troublemakers on the far right, who sometimes try and show up in what they call as a counter-protest. But as we saw a couple of months ago with Tommy Robinson and his bunch of goons, they were just there to stir up right-wing hatred and trouble. But don't let that be the thing that puts you off uniting with others in calling for a ceasefire and stopping the war in Gaza and recognising Palestine as a state, because that is going to be the thing that resolves this as quickly as possible. People will always try and point out that Hamas took hostages on October the 7th. The quickest way to get the hostages released would be to create a two-party solution. There were negotiations this week between Israel and Hamas. Hamas made some very reasonable proposals that involved a 135-day truce, whereby the wounded could be attended to. People could actually have the time to find food, to find water. That was thrown back in their face by Benjamin Netanyahu, who of course is a complete maniac in this regard. If he thought that there was even one member of Hamas left in Palestine, he would be happy to bulldoze the entire country just for that. He doesn't care about the 2 million Palestinians, and these claims that Hamas using civilians as human shields and things like that, they're increasingly desperate propaganda. We've found tunnels here, we've found tunnels there. It never ends, it seems relentless. The latest one on that, just while I'm on the topic before I move on to this next clip from Jeremy Corbyn in the House of Commons, was that obviously some countries have suspended funding to UNRWA, which is the United Nations, basically it's the aid relief branch of the United Nations, which is trying to provide relief and aid to Gazans. But not only are aid convoys being attacked, now on the other side of things, you have Israel accusing UNRWA of having a Hamas base under its headquarters, and that's their excuse for why they're calling for UNRWA to be defunded. There's not been any proof behind these claims presented so far, but unfortunately countries, including the United Kingdom, have suspended funding to UNRWA, and that's just only going to increase to the desperate humanitarian situation that's ongoing in Gaza at the moment. We really do have to put a stop to that. But like I said, the propaganda that's coming from Israel at the moment is becoming increasingly desperate, and it's there for all to see. This is the 21st century, and they're still trying to fight a 20th century propaganda war, as though we'd just sort of take their word for it. And anytime they point accusations of Hamas bases and tunnels being anywhere, that would just take the word on it. But so far, the evidence for that has been laughable. As you might remember, just a month or so ago, they claimed that Hamas had one of the headquarters in one of the Gazan hospitals, which, of course, tragically been subject to shelling as well. And then a film crew went in to investigate it, and it was just absolutely pathetic how they tried to frame the hospital as being a headquarters for Hamas. So please do call out these lies wherever you see them, and speak the truth and unite. And as long as we all speak the truth and stick by the truth, we're on the right side of history, both, morally and emotionally as well. Okay, just before we move on as well, just want to say thanks a lot to everyone for joining us tonight. If you've not subscribed already, please do so. Hit the thumbs up button on the stream, and that'll help us out in the algorithm. We do want to hear from you as well. If you want to drop us a mention in the chat, if you just want to say hello or want to comment on any of the clips that we're going through as we do. And once again, thanks a lot for being here on My Left Eye, joining us on our very first live stream to help celebrate passing 500 subscribers. And you're all very welcome here tonight. Let's hear a little bit more from Jeremy Corbyn, who's the independent candidate for Islington North and former leader of the Labour Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is an extraordinary situation where the Secretary of State comes here, makes a matter-of-fact statement about the launching of missiles against a number of targets in a number of countries, gives no indication of what the long-term war aim is by the UK at the present time, says absolutely nothing about the crying, desperate need for a ceasefire to protect the people of Gaza from further death and further destruction. Does he not realise that the extension of the conflict by Britain and the United States to at least 4 other countries risks a huge conflagration across the whole region? I would have been much happier if he had come here and said Britain was determined to try to deal with the injustices in the region and try to bring about a peace process rather than further militarisation of all the seaways around all of those countries. Surely peace is something to aim for rather than a continuation of yet more wars. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it just beggars belief how a foreign secretary can stand up, or whoever can stand up in the House of Parliament and just casually declare that we've started to help America in bombing all of these other countries, like I mentioned before, Syria, Iraq, Iran. I mean, how long is it going to go on? How many more countries are going to get dragged into this? No doubt those of you who were around at the time 20 years ago when these debates were going on about the Iraq War, the second Gulf War, there were huge debates in Parliament where the House was full and everybody had something to say. Now you look at that session there and there's hardly anybody there. There's hardly anybody who's standing up to the actions of the UK. But now these days we can just casually announce that we're helping the United States of America in causing so much death and destruction, not just upon Palestinians, but also in other countries in the region. And how far this will escalate, how far this will go to, I mean, who's to say how far this will go? I, for one, am genuinely concerned that this could escalate into a massive conflict in the region. And I don't want to say, World War III too early, but it appears that so many Western nations are going to get dragged into this conflict, including countries in the European Union, the United States of America, and obviously us in the UK. How far is it going to go? We need to nip this in the bud now. We need to get everybody around a table to come up with a plausible and serious solution. But unfortunately, as I mentioned just before, I showed you this clip. Every single proposal that has been put to Benjamin Netanyahu, who's a fanatic, who's a maniac, has been rejected. Like I said, even if he suspected that there was just one member of Hamas in Palestine, he would more than happily level the entire country and kill 2 million people just to try and claim that victory, as it were. So, yeah. Rashid, thanks a lot for joining us on the chat tonight. We are going to be going into what's happening in Rochdale very shortly. Thanks a lot for joining us on the stream tonight. That's yet to come. Please do stick around. I've got quite a bit to say about the by-election coming up in Rochdale. Slight spoiler alert, the response while Labour candidates have been out canvassing has been less than welcoming, shall we say, but there's also been some controversy today with Zara Ali's comments surrounding the initial Hamas attacks on October the 7th, so we're going to be diving into that very shortly. And for everybody else, you're more than welcome to join us in the chat as well. I don't have any moderators at the moment. Like I said, this is our very first live stream, so if you are debating between each other, please do keep it polite and keep it cordial. We're all friends here. We all want to discuss ways that we can challenge the topics that we're going to be showing you tonight. So let's keep it all friendly, brothers and sisters, okay? All right, so it's not just members of Parliament such as Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana, who we saw earlier, as well as union leader Mick Lynch. There have been a lot of artists and musicians, etc., making their voices heard and using opportunities of being in the public to show support for Palestine. At the Grammy Awards, which happened recently, obviously in the United States of America, Annie Lennox gave a rendition of Nothing Compares to You by the recently deceased Sinead O'Connor, who was, prior to her tragic death recently, a great supporter of Palestine as well. So let's take a look at this shorts clip that we've got here from that. This is just a brief clip. I'll just let it run all the way through. It's only 1 minute long, and then we'll move on to something else. Just want to show you the support that's coming from some famous musicians as well.
And the Grammys were held Sunday night. Several artists used the event to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. Members of the band Boy Genius, which won the Grammy for Best Alternative Music Album, took to the red carpet wearing pins with the logo for Artists Call for Ceasefire Now. The musician Annie Lennox called for a ceasefire from the stage just after performing a version of Nothing Compares to You, a song popularized by the late Sinead O'Connor.
Artists for ceasefire, peace in the world.
Yeah, incredible. I believe that's Burt Bacharach, who you can see on the screen there, who was the original composer. Nothing Compares to You. I believe so, but you can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. Yeah, so whenever musician or an actor does make a political statement, there's always a little bit of backlash from the right-wing press. Also recently we've seen UK celebrities such as Gary Lineker being outspoken against the Tories on a lot of issues, and people telling them to just sort of sit down and they should only comment about football or music or acting or Hollywood. It's just pathetic, really, and it's a way to try and distract from the issue in hand, of course. Yeah, just wanted to point out and respond to one of the comments in the chat as well from FSM, is the dog, who says, the irony of being on the same side as Safi after marching against apartheid in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, you will remember, of course, obviously, Nelson Mandela has obviously been lauded as a fantastic someone who stands up for human rights and fought against apartheid in South Africa. Let's not forget that it was the Tory party during the 1980s who wanted to have him imprisoned, and in fact the Tories who we've got in power today, who were back in university at the private school, whatever it was, back in the 1980s, would have been part of the Youth Conservatives. David Cameron, for example, was part of the Youth Conservatives and was one of those people who was calling for people like Nelson Mandela to be condemned, clearly putting himself on the wrong side of history. And we're seeing that repeated again today. There have been so many comparisons made between the apartheid in South Africa, who of course brought the charges to the International Court of Justice, and between that and the situation in Palestine as well. But this time around, let's have ourselves on the right side of history. Let's let this country be on the right side of history and call for a ceasefire in Gaza and for a Palestinian state. Even David Cameron himself has come out recently and said that he might be considering recognising Palestine as a state in a short amount of time. And if even people like David Cameron, who, forgive my language, is an absolute piece of crap and was one of the worst prime ministers this country's ever had, if even he's saying that, then where does that leave others morally? One way that we can do it, as I mentioned earlier, is to divest from arming the United States, divest from arming Israel, and there have been several protests about that in America as well. So here's another clip about a protest calling for divestment, and again, like the clip you just saw, that comes from alternative news source Democracy Now!, who, if you're not familiar with, do check them out as well. So these are some of the latest protests in the United States, where citizens are absolutely sick to the teeth of seeing their tax money go towards funding death and destruction, like we are in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Back in the U.S., hundreds of Pennsylvanians rallied at the state capitol in Harrisburg Monday to demand the state divest millions from Israel bonds. The protest was led by Jewish Voice for Peace, the Philly Palestine Coalition, and the Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE. Police arrested at least 126 demonstrators. State Representative Chris Robb attempted to shield protesters from arrest and later defended their right to protest, evoking the history of the civil rights struggle and Black History Month.
Sorry about that. The clip just finished a little bit earlier than I was expecting. A bit of a technical fault there. But yeah, again, if you live in a country where it's known that your tax money is going towards funding this occupation and genocide, then please do everything that you can in your power, whether you can take to the streets, whether you can sign a petition, whether you can write to your members of parliament to speak up against that. Please do so wherever you are as well. And just going to go back onto the clips now. And this next clip's all about the boycotts as well.
How are famous global brands involved in Israel's war on Palestine's Gaza? These brands directly helps the Israeli economy. An Israel economy is the fuel that feeds its military and allows it to bomb Gaza and carry out a genocide against the Palestinians.
Yeah, just wanted to dive in there and quickly remind you, wars aren't cheap. Missiles are not cheap. Sending troops into another country is not cheap. If an army or a nation doesn't have that funding, then it cannot occupy, then it cannot destroy. And it's so fundamentally important that you think about which products that you're buying, as well as calling for your government to divest from investment in arms as well. What you choose to do as consumers can have a massive impact on Israel's ability to commit genocide and occupation of Palestine. I'm going to play the rest of the clip, and then we're going to go into that in a little bit more detail before we move on to the interesting developments in Rochdale. As Jabel DeMarco has pointed out in the chat. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight, Jabel. And for everybody else who's listening, let's just run through the rest of this clip and we can go into that in a bit more detail. But quite a few things to get through tonight. Obviously, there's been so much happening and recent developments over the weekend as well.
How are famous global brands involved in Israel's war on Palestine's Gaza? These brands directly helps the Israeli economy. and Israeli economy is the fuel that feeds its military and allows it to bomb Gaza and carry out a genocide against the Palestinian people. The world's leading brands reach nearly every household around the globe. It is difficult to find a home in which at least one of these brands is not present. In 2022 alone, these three companies earned more than $200 billion. Procter & Gamble has been part of the Israeli market since 2001. They have gained attention with a significant multi-million-dollar investments in Israeli medical companies and research centers. This brand is so popular in Israel that it is found in 98% of Israeli households. Famous luxury brand Louis Vuitton. They invested millions of dollars in Israeli diamond production companies, which are the cornerstone of the Israeli economy. They are linked to the sale of Israeli Ahava products that are produced in the occupied Palestinian territories. The owner of Louis Vuitton is known for having made significant investments in Israeli security companies amounting to hundreds of millions of dollars. Next up is HP. According to the BDS movement, in addition to supplying technology to the Israeli army and police, HP provides the Israel administration with titanium servers for its Aviv system. This system allows the government to control and enforce its systematic racial segregation and apartheid against Palestinians. We mentioned only 3 brands, but there are many more. Endorsing and purchasing these brands not only sustains Israel's military power by aiding the country's economy, but also contributes to the genocide of the Palestinian people.
And we did put out a video through the week. If you want to check that out, the thumbnail has got a picture of a rather sad-looking Ronald McDonald. If you want to go further into detail about the companies that you can avoid if you want to stop financing the Israel war machine. You heard a couple of them mention the Louis Vuitton, obviously massively globally famous fashion brand, as well as Hewlett-Packard, who are of course an IT company, but there are so many more. As I mentioned, McDonald's, who have seen a slump in sales since these boycotts started. In fact, they've not reached the sale targets for the first time in 4 years because of this. That's a massive boycott which started earlier on. Which started last year and has now shown to have a lot of financial impact. Also, KFC, Starbucks as well, famous coffee company. They've seen even stores themselves have been closing due to the boycott over Israel, and other environmental issues as well with Starbucks. There are so many more. We do go into detail in that video, so please do add that to your playlist after you've watched the stream as well and check out that. But I'll just mention a few of the other companies such as Unilever, which is a massive sort of cosmetics and hygiene brand as well. But even just this small handful of companies have made profits last year, combined profits of over $200 billion, which is obviously a massive amount of money. Imagine if we could put that sort of money towards peace rather than war and destruction, the death of innocent women and children and innocent Palestinians everywhere, the destruction of buildings, as I've mentioned before, hospitals, but also schools and universities. The last university left standing in Palestine was destroyed just a few days ago. Palestine actually proportionately has one of the highest rates in the world for citizens who have a university education, who have degrees, who have doctorates. They are a population who are trying to educate themselves, trying to free themselves from this oppression academically, but unfortunately they are in effect held hostage by the Israelis, as we've seen over the last few weeks. Anytime they try to go to a safe zone, it's far from safe. Refugee camps are being attacked, convoys are being attacked, aid convoys are being attacked. And not only that, I just want to point out quickly how, and I'm sorry if I do go off on one a little bit here, but I've been absolutely disgusted recently with what I've seen from Israel propaganda. We've seen people dancing and cheering in front of convoys that have been attacked with essential aid, and I cannot overstate just how bad the situation is in Palestine at the moment. Families have but 1 cup of water, if that, to live off per day, and that includes for drinking, for cleaning. They don't have any food. People have had to resort to eating grass. They have mobile bakeries, but the wheat fields have been increasingly attacked as well as the mobile bakeries themselves. People are starving. People are being left for dead, and it's clear as day to anybody who has just an ounce of moral decency that this is a clear and obvious genocide. There's no way of trying to move the goalposts on the definition of genocide. It's clear for all to see. Just a quick correction. Someone's pointed out in the chat, FSM is the dog. Thanks a lot. It was Prince, actually, who originally wrote "Nothing compares to you, not Burt Bacharach." So just want to give credit where it's due to the late Prince, or artist formerly known as Prince as well. We like to stay on top of the facts here on My Left Eye, so thanks a lot for pointing that out. FSM is the dog. I knew it was somewhere in the back of the mind that it might not have been Burt Bacharach, but there you go. Not sure why he was in the video clip. If it was him at all, it might have just been a dead ringer for Burt Bacharach as well. So I hope that you're boycotting these companies. I certainly am, and will continue to do so. Please do your research into which of the companies that you should be avoiding as well. And a reminder to check out our video with the sad-looking Ronald McDonald face on the thumbnail there that we put out just in the middle of the week. And while we're on that topic, just want to thank you all for your recent comments on our videos as well. It's been great to see everybody getting involved, informing me of new developments on topics that I wasn't aware of as well. So that's been fantastic, as well as receiving so many subscribers. And it's great to see you all on our very first live stream tonight. Thanks a lot for being here, and drop us your thoughts in the comments as well. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell, and all of that stuff. So we're going to move on to another clip now. Like I said, it's obvious to everybody that this is a genocide. Even normally, I say normally, they are right-wing, right-leaning people have been calling out Israel for their actions. I mentioned David Cameron earlier is considering calling for a Palestinian state to be recognised a lot sooner. But even Tory Baroness Sayeeda Warsi, who appeared on Question Time recently, pointed out something that should be so obvious to everybody. But like with the United States of America, ourselves over here in the UK don't exactly have the best mainstream media. That's why we need channels like My Left Eye to actually tell it like it is. And we're grateful for you being here. But let's just hear from Sayeeda Warsi. And my point here is just obviously people who are normally not seen as, let's say, having a high moral stature within the Conservative Party are even calling out Israel for its war crimes. So this is Baroness Sayeeda Warsi on Question Time recently.
I think at the moment what we don't have in Israel and Palestine between Hamas and Netanyahu is that either party is a partner for peace. I want to read something to you. This quote: "Anyone who wants to thwart the establishment of a Palestinian state has to support the bolstering of Hamas and transferring money to Hamas. This is part of our strategy to isolate the Palestinians in Gaza from the Palestinians in the West Bank." That was Prime Minister Netanyahu in 2019, supporting Hamas, because he knows that as long as Hamas remains there, he can always argue that there is no partner for peace.
Yeah, precisely. Israel helped to fund the creation of Hamas. They even helped Hamas to build some of these aforementioned tunnels as an excuse to impose their genocide and occupation upon Palestine. It's a pathetic tactic. It's really vile. It's really vile. But you've got to remember that people like Benjamin Netanyahu are absolute maniac fanatics who will stop at nothing, and they have manufactured their own enemy in order to use that as an excuse to attack Palestinians, because this is a collective punishment on the Palestinians. If I snap my fingers and every single member of Hamas disappeared overnight. Do you think that tomorrow morning Benjamin Netanyahu would call it a day? No. This isn't just a Zionist, racist, fascist occupation. It's also an economic situation. Israel are looking to use parts of Gaza to be able to build a shipping canal, which will basically stop ships from having to sail all around the Horn of Africa to reach destinations. And that's just one of the elements in this, and one of the reasons why they have manufactured Hamas themselves in order to have what they think will be a legitimate excuse to impose a genocide on 2 million people. But we're not falling for it. And even Saeeda Warsi, a conservative baroness, isn't falling for it either. And it's very rare that I actually would give props to a conservative of any kind, but she is absolutely on point and spot on with what she's saying here. Let's hear the rest from this clip.
During our lifetime, there have been two moments when peace could have happened. One was in the early 90s with the Oslo Accords, which were negotiated by Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat, and both of them were awarded a Nobel Peace Prize for that. Tragically, 2 years after those accords, a right-wing Israeli settler assassinated Yitzhak Rabin, and after the end of that, the peace process came to an end. The second moment came not so long ago in 2016 when John Kerry, as Secretary of State, put forward a peace proposal. That proposal was accepted by the Palestinian Authority and it was rejected by a one Netanyahu. So I think it's really important. I do believe, Gabriel, that there is an opportunity for peace. It's the only way that Israel will secure its long-term future. And I genuinely believe that what we should be saying to our politicians is that you've got to stop using language which actually in the real world makes no sense. It sounds like
Are you including your Conservative?
I'm including the Conservatives and actually the leader of the opposition. In the real world, it sounds insensitive. It sounds like it's one-sided. It sounds hypocritical.
And I think one of the main things that Saeeda is getting at here is this: Israel has the right to defend itself line. How many dozens or scores of times have we heard that over the last 3 months? Here's the problem with that pathetic excuse and pathetic line that gets thrown around news shows and interviews, is that Israel is occupying another country. It isn't defending itself. You are not defending yourself in another country. You are the oppressor. You are the ones who are inflicting war on another country. And as far as I'm concerned, Israel is no more defending itself in Palestine than Germany was, quote-unquote, defending itself in France, or other parts of Europe, or Poland, wherever, during the 1940s, if you get my meaning. And it's the same thing. It equates to the same mentality. Anytime I hear a politician on a news show or in another interview on the radio or wherever, especially, you know, Kier Starmer is one who's said it, as well as a lot of other MPs on both sides of the House of Commons. Don't stand for it. Call them out for the lies. Call them out for the pathetic attempt to dodge around the issue, to dodge around the question with this: Israel has a right to defend itself or herself. As you know, countries have the pronoun she. Whether it's defending itself or herself, it's bollocks. It doesn't add up. It just doesn't wash, especially with the amount of evidence that we see. And one of the things that Israel are doing is deliberately attacking journalists who are reporting from Gaza, and there have been more journalists killed in this conflict than there have been in World War II and Vietnam and other wars combined. And this has only been going on for 3 months because they don't want the truth to get out of there. They just want to spin this Israel is defending itself lie. But don't fall for it. Don't stand for it.
And it sounds like you do not understand the depth of this issue, and it goes no way towards actually resolving the issue. All you do is embolden Netanyahu, a man who is mired in allegations of corruption, who actually in his cabinet has a minister who has been convicted of terrorism, another minister who is a self-confessed fascist, and who are governing on the basis of a coalition agreement which denies the very right of the Palestinian state to exist. I think at the moment what we
Well, you heard it all there. What a motley crew of fascists. Basically, there's no other way to put it. It is fascism. It's modern fascism, and it has to be fought at every turn. So, although Sayeeda Warsi is a conservative baroness, do have to give her credit for calling that out on obviously one of the BBC's main political shows, BBC Question Time. It's often very difficult to get the truth out on the, especially, you know, it has, should we say, slightly bias reporting, bias towards the right, that is, with host Fiona Bruce's husband being a Tory party donor as well. But fair play to Sayeeda for being able to call out the truth there, and you could see from the response from the audience that they're sick of it as well, and the increasing amount of desperate and pathetic lies that we're hearing from the pro-Israel camp is just becoming increasingly embarrassing as well as frustrating. So, as I said, we're going to move on to the by-election in Rochdale. Yeah, some interesting developments today. We're going to look at a news article which concerns Labour candidates, one of the two Labour candidates, I should say, who are standing in the seat in Rochdale on the 29th. Zara has made some comments about what happened on October the 7th. But first of all, obviously, Kier Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, excuse me, here in the UK, is an open Zionist and stood up in court in the House of Commons a couple of years ago. It's Netanyahu who should be in court, not you know. Anyway, he stood up in the House of Commons and said openly that he supports Zionism without qualification. That's a direct quote there. He said he supports Zionism without qualification, reiterated that in later interviews when that was put to him as well. How any Labour MP can stand behind someone like that beggars belief, although that said, they are out canvassing and it has been a less than warm reception. As I said, I'm going to show you two examples that I found here from social media of Labour canvassers approaching voters in the Rochdale area, and then, well, the voters really did give them a piece of the mind. So we're going to see this one from this lady who heard a knock at the door and found that it was a Labour canvasser. So let's see how she responded to that.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah?
Yeah?
Madam.
No, we don't support Zionists. Bye.
Hey?
We don't support Zionists. You can go away.
Thank you. We're not Zionists.
Yes, you are.
Sorry. Bye-bye.
Yeah, okay, bye.
Yeah, she was having none of that, and the we're not Zionists. You run it up the chain. You go to the leader of the Labour Party, like I said, and that quote is undeniable. And he did reinforce it as well. He's backed the wrong horse. He's put himself on the wrong side of history. Kier Starmer, Sir Rodney, Kier Rodney Starmer, as an open Zionist. Let's just have a quick look at that clip again. If Labour do come knocking around your way, whether you're from Rochdale and it's going to be on the by-election or the upcoming general election later on this year, I hope that you'll heed this message and have a similar response yourself. Let's just quickly see the clip again.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah?
Yeah?
Madam.
No, we don't support Zionists. Bye.
Hey?
We don't support Zionists. You can go away.
Thank you. We're not Zionists.
Yes, you are.
Sorry. Bye-bye.
Yeah, okay, bye.
And it's as easy as that. Just say no thanks, we don't support Zionists. You don't have to go into, you know, you don't have to go through all of the issues. That one issue alone should get the message across. Obviously, this situation is in the public consciousness at the moment. So the next time Labour come and knocking, you let your thoughts known. There's also another clip here where Zara and some of his co-canvassers went to approach some lads in a cafe, and they got an even more visceral reception there. There's one or two examples. There's a bit of bad language in this clip, just so that you know before we go into it. Nothing too harsh, but these lads, again, weren't having any of it. Azhar Ali had to make a sharp exit and left one of his canvassers behind to try and persuade the lads, but they really have got their minds made up, as have so many other people in Rochdale and in the region. So that's why this by-election is going to be interesting to see. Like I said, that's happening on the 29th. So these are the kind of things that have been happening on the campaign trail for Labour at the moment.
Thomas Bumchung. You know this guy's leader? You murderers, mate. You murderers, that's what you are. Yeah, you didn't listen to me. No, you're wrong.
For those of you who don't know, that's Azhar Ali on the right of the two men who were stood up there, and the one on the left is his co-canvasser. Azhar Ali does make a very quick dart for the door, as you're going to see here.
Maybe won't listen to you. Free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine, free.
Fuck Labour!
What? You started in?
We want the ceasefire. We
want
the ceasefire. We were one of the first council who passed the motion for the ceasefire. The leader didn't. No. We were one of the first councils in the Rochdale stand up, and we did the ceasefire. So,
but like the lad there's saying, the party, the Parliamentary Labour Party, abstained. Most of them abstained and prevented the motion for a ceasefire going through. So it's nothing more than a minor gesture. If the council vote for it, it doesn't matter if when you run that up to the top of the party that they're Zionists. And any Labour MP should really think about this. They should really think about the party that they are representing at the moment. And yeah, a lot of them were in Labour before Kier Starmer took over, but at the moment it's so compromised by neoliberals, from Zionists, from the Labour Friends of Israel as well, and how they think that Kier Starmer is going to openly turn around and reject Zionism when he's been such a backer of it so far. Just, I don't know, it beggars belief. But I really would say to any Labour MP, any Labour councillor at the moment, just think about who you're representing right now. You're representing Sir Kier Starmer's Labour Party. So gestures such as getting the council to vote for a ceasefire, if it is a Labour-controlled council, only matter a small amount as a gesture when you run it up the chain and you've got these Zionists at the top. It's not really going to make any amount of difference. And that voter there, that you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, is wise to it, as a lot of people are.
if you put that on the record on the Rochdale Council.
Yeah, but your leader.
We need our morals and principles. You should have the Labour Party.
Guys, vote George Galloway.
George Galloway's in that, by the way. He's got our view.
Good luck to you, then I can say that.
Allah forgive you.
On the day of judgment.
Haq.
Stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Nari Takbir.
Allahu Akbar. That's like walk out, you little boy. Walk out, you.
Yeah, so they're trying to point out to him as fellow Muslims there that, within Islam, Allah would be judging them on the day of judgment, and these lads just completely rejecting everything from that Labour canvasser there. And you heard the lad with the cap there mention that he's going to be voting for George Galloway, and we're going to take a look at the other candidates who are standing in the Rochdale by-election now. Obviously, George Galloway has been picking up a lot of attention on social media recently over his campaign. He's going to be representing the Workers' Party of Britain. There are other independent candidates as well. So let's just quickly take a look at this Rochdale by-election. So there's George Galloway, as you can see there. For those of you who aren't familiar with George, obviously he's been a public figure for quite a while now. He's very outspoken on the US and UK occupation of Iraq 20 years ago, as he's been outspoken on matters of the Palestinian genocide as well. That's mainly the subject that he's going to be bringing up when he's trying to appeal to voters. I have to say, personally, I don't agree with everything that George Galloway says, but I definitely agree with his stance on foreign occupation as well. And it should be interesting because there's a few other candidates as well who have drawn attention from the media, including Mark Coleman, who you're going to see here.
Yes.
Sorry about that. So this is Mark Coleman, who's standing as an independent candidate in the seat as well, although he's a supporter of the environmental group Just Stop Oil. He's not actually representing them, but he is considered to be the Green candidate in the seat. That is not in the sense that he's representing the Green Party, but he's running on an environmental ticket. I should point out the actual Green candidate, it's transpired today, has had to pull out of the by-election because of some previous comments that he'd made on Twitter, I believe it was. I can't tell you because I don't know exactly what the comments were, but they were bad enough for him not to be officially sort of endorsed and backed up by the Green Party themselves, which is why he's pulled out of the race. So it's going to be Mark Coleman who's going to be trying to appeal to people on the environmental side as well. He also does support a ceasefire in Palestine and for Palestine to be recognised as a state also. So that's another interesting candidate in this Rochdale by-election coming up on the 29th as well. There's another Labour member who's campaigning as well, and he used to be the elected leader in Rochdale, I believe, for about 7 years. So he's running alongside Zara Ali. I'm not too sure about the difference in policies between the two of them, but they've put two horses into this race, as it were, and it should be interesting to see the developments. We will, of course, be keeping you up to speed with that, and we'll let you know the result as well as some analysis when that happens in a couple of weeks' time. There's not just by-election in Rochdale either. There's another one coming up in Wellingborough, which should be interesting as well. Don't really have the time to go through all of the candidates for that, but we will be making mention of it on the channel at some point. But if you live in Rochdale or the Rochdale area, we'd love to know your thoughts as well. Also, especially if you've had some of the candidates come to your door and canvassing whether you agreed with them or not, whether that was the Tory candidate, the Labour candidate, or independent candidates such as George Galloway and Mark Coleman, who you can see on your screen there. But quickly, just to this article I mentioned, a developing breaking news story from earlier today regarding Zara Ali, who you saw being rejected by those lads in the cafe there. Imagine just trying to enjoy your tea and then a Labour councillor comes over you and starts to ask if you want to support a party that's led by a Zionist. You know, that's it's not just rude. You know, it's very unbecoming, isn't it? So let's have a look at this article, which should be on your screen now. Hope it is. Yeah, there we go. Okay, Labour candidate Zara Ali apologises for Israel comments. Now, this is why I said that Labour MPs, Labour councillors, Labour candidates should really have a good hard think about who they're representing, because Zara Ali certainly seems conflicted. I think deep within his heart he does want to support Palestinians. However, if he's tied to the Labour Party, that's obviously so difficult when they're led by Sir Kier Starmer, who's obviously an open Zionist, as well as other members of the shadow cabinet who are members of Labour Friends for Israel as well. But as you can see through this article, he has, I don't want to use the word attacked, he's been critical of Israel and has said a few things about the Hamas attack on October 7th, 2023. Now, I want to be very careful how I choose my words here. It's not that I'm worried about calling things out the way that they are. I just want to like make this, perfectly clear for you people listening at home. He's aroused suspicion, shall we say. He's pointed out that there have been suspicions that Israel actually had prior knowledge on October the 7th that there was going to be an attack. And as we said earlier, with Israel having created Hamas itself to manufacture an enemy to use as an excuse to attack while it imposes a genocide on Palestinians, Zara believes that Israel did know about the attacks, was warned by other nations that they were going to be attacked. However, that they chose to sort of stand down and let this happen as an excuse. And now, I'm not going to say that I've got definitive proof one way or another. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these allegations, as it were, what you think about how much Israel did or didn't know about the attacks prior to October the 7th. I'm going to leave entirely open. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So let's just quickly read through a few bits of the article. It says, Labour's candidate in the Rochdale by-election has apologised for remarks he made about Israel in a local party meeting. In a secret recording obtained by the Mail on Sunday, now bearing in mind this is the Daily Mail that we're talking about, not exactly known as purveyors of the truth, that's one factor to consider as well. It says, as Zara reportedly said Israel had allowed the deadly attack by Hamas gunmen on 7th of October. That was last year. Mr. Ali said his claims had been deeply offensive, ignorant and false. The Tories have called for Labour to suspend its by-election campaign and remove Mr. Ali's party membership. Obviously, I think that's probably the only way that the Tories consider that they'll have a chance of winning in Rochdale. But it says there a little further down, Mr. Ali will remain Labour's candidate in the Rochdale by-election. Mr. McFadden also told Sky News. So what happened in this recording? So this is a BBC News article, should point out. It says, in the recording which has not been heard by the BBC, Mr. Ali is alleged to have said, quote, the Egyptians are saying that they warned Israel 10 days earlier. Americans warned them a day before that. There's something happening. They deliberately took the security off. They allowed that massacre, gives them the green light to do whatever they bloody want, end quote. Now, I really would like to know your thoughts about this. If there's been evidence presented of this, I'd love if you could point it out to me as well, because I genuinely want to know either way. I think this could be a massive thing, whether this was basically whether Israel were taken by surprise on October the 7th, or whether it is what you might call a false flag attack, whereby the apparent victim has either manufactured the attack themselves or let that happen deliberately as an excuse to impose these awful countermeasures and this counter response, which even Joe Biden himself has called out as being completely over the top. I don't like to use the phrase overkill in an insensitive manner, but that is basically how Israel's responded to this. 28,000 plus people dead, over half of them women and children, 80% of the population displaced. That is, of course, a massive overreaction, and that's putting it lightly, without getting into words such as overkill. Yeah, the article there just points out there were 1,200 people, mainly civilians, killed, around 250 taken hostage. Of course, originally that figure was a bit higher. They claimed around 1,500 people were killed initially. Then it transpired that the charred remains of bodies which they'd counted as Israelis were actually Palestinians. And the article says, since then, the territory's Hamas-run health ministry says Israeli attacks have killed more than 28,000. Obviously, Israeli authorities have faced criticism for security failings, and reports have emerged that intelligence services were warned by Egypt of potential violence in the days leading up to the attack. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has described the reports as absolutely false, but he should be sweating at the moment either way, whether this was a false flag or whether it wasn't, as well as protests calling for a ceasefire around the world. We've also seen protests within Israel itself calling for Benjamin Netanyahu to step down. He was basically brought back into government on a ticket that said that he would keep Israel secure and prevent any attacks. Now, if this was a surprise attack, then that exposes Netanyahu as being incompetent and incapable of preventing these attacks. If this is a false flag attack, and they did have prior knowledge about it, then that is obviously way worse. If the Israelis, the Israeli population that is, find out that Netanyahu allowed this to happen, then those protests are only going to escalate, and there are already many people protesting in Israel and calling for him to resign just based off of the fact that they think that that was a surprise attack on October the 7th. Imagine the reaction from the population when they find out that this was allowed to happen. So in a statement, Mr. Ali said, "I apologise unreservedly to the Jewish community for my comments, which were deeply offensive, ignorant and false. Hamas's horrific terror attack was the responsibility of Hamas alone, and they are still holding hostages who must be released." Labour's Mr. McFadden said he was appalled by the comments. He has quite rightly apologised and completely retracted, and I hope he learns a lesson from it, he's told the BBC. Now, it appears to me from that he's been pulled up on this by internal forces within the Labour Party and asked him to retract his comments. You know, it sounds as though at the time he made them that they were genuine comments, and he's since retracted them. Perhaps the threat of being removed as a Labour candidate might have been part of that. Maybe not. It's hard to see what goes on in these, you know, sort of backroom dealings when it comes to politics. So let's just quickly hear what the Tory chairman Richard Holden has to say. He's called for Labour leader Sir Kier Starmer to, quote, immediately remove Mr Ali's Labour membership and suspend Labour's campaign ahead of the by-election. He said, time after time, Sir Kier Starmer says that he's changed Labour. Time after time, we're seeing that simply isn't true. Well, he has changed Labour from, in 2019, it being a decent democratic socialist party being run by someone who was actually compassionate and actually had an ounce of morality himself, i.e. Jeremy Corbyn. That is how he's changed the party. He's dragged it to the right wing. He's dragged it into a Blairite, Thatcherite, neoliberal mess, as far as I'm concerned. But what this is touching on, and I can't believe that some politicians are still trying to flog this dead horse, that any criticism of Israel should be considered to be anti-Semitism. That's absolutely not the case, and that's just one of the despicable tactics that Israel has used over the years, time and time again. Jeremy Corbyn was certainly condemned for his support of Palestine, and accusations of anti-Semitism followed that in a, you know, pathetic and desperate manner, as I'm sure we all remember from such a short time ago. That was, you know, less than 4 years ago. But the fact that a Tory is still trying to perpetuate this lie that Labour in 2019, its members, its supporters were anti-Semitic. Let's get down to the bare bones of that, actually, just quickly before I move on. Let's talk about facts, okay? There were complaints of anti-Semitism made to the Labour Party during Jeremy Corbyn's tenure. However, the amount of reports were still lower relative to other parties. I believe that 80% of the claims that were made came from one person, and obviously Jeremy Corbyn tried to increase the amount of power to investigate these claims, did his utmost to prevent any genuine anti-Semitism within the party, and it's transpired that out of a party membership of around 500,000 members, because obviously the membership soared after Jeremy Corbyn took over in 2015, it soared to over 500,000 members. There were only two people who were found to be guilty of posting anti-Semitic tweets. 2 people out of 500,000, I wouldn't say is any sort of endemic within the Labour Party. It's worth pointing out as well that other people who tried to make a fuss over this from within the Labour Party, falsely claiming that they'd been victims of anti-Semitism at the hands of Labour Party members. Luciana Berger, for example, you remember, kicked up a lot of fuss. The person who she was accusing of anti-Semitism wasn't even a member of the Labour Party, and that just says it all. Yes, she did receive some tweets, some tags in tweets that were anti-Semitic on her social media, on her Twitter, but that guy wasn't even a member or a supporter of the Labour Party, and herself and others similarly perpetuated this lie, and they've since been exposed, but the damage has been done now. The mainstream media went along with all of that as well, which was absolutely pathetic to see our gutter press going along with that at the time. And now Richard Holden still trying to perpetuate this myth, this lie, that democratic socialists and members of the Labour Party are anti-Semitic simply for criticising a genocidal state. It's pathetic. It's a pathetic tactic, and it really needs calling out, and it needs putting in the bin. Okay, sorry for my little aside there. I'll just read through a bit more of the article before we start to round things off on the live stream. We've come up to the 90-minute mark, but it's been great to see you all here this evening. Please do stay with us to the end of the stream, and if you've not done so already, hit the thumbs up and the share button and all of the rest of that to help us out with the algorithm. Oh, excuse me. So the Lancashire County Councillor says he wished to urgently apologise to Jewish leaders for my inexcusable comments. Again, this kind of reeks of forced apology. I think he has definitely been threatened with something or other to quickly turn around and retract those comments. The Board of Deputies of British Jews said it would have called on Labour to replace Mr Ali as by-election candidate had it not been too late to do so. Describing his earlier comments as disgraceful and unforgivable, the board said it's clear to us that Mr Ali is not apologising out of genuine sense or remorse. Yeah, that's something I picked up on as well. I guess I do have to agree with that point, but if he would have said those comments at a local meeting, I would like to know where he got that information from. Like I said, I cannot say one way or another if those accusations are true or not true, if he was just trying to win votes or if he was just trying to get past the rejection from voters in Rochdale, as we saw with those clips earlier, if he's trying to actually be supportive of Palestine with those comments, and well, it appears to have flown back in his face. I genuinely want to know. I really want to know, and I'll be honest, I've been curious since October last year as to whether this attack by Hamas was a surprise or whether it was allowed to happen, like I said, to give Israel an apparent excuse to commit genocide. But there are no excuses for genocide. As you can see, those pictures there of some of the 1.5 million Palestinians still stuck in the southern city of Rafah in Gaza as they seek safety. Speaking of Rafah, again, unfortunately, tragically, world leaders, including the United Nations, have pointed out that Israel's planned attack on Rafah, which is where people are trying to cross the border into Egypt, if he went ahead with that, then they've warned him that he could be culpable of again breaking international law. But today he's turned around and he said that he doesn't really care. He's just going to go ahead and do it anyway, which just kind of re-emphasises this this fanatic mindset that Benjamin Netanyahu has. So he's going to go ahead, and unfortunately he's going to continue to attack people at the border, continue to attack convoys of aid, trying to reach the 1.5 million Palestinians stuck, trying to seek refuge and cross into Egypt. Just skip through a couple of bits, and it says a number of Labour frontbench MPs and councillors have resigned over the party's initial reluctance to call for a ceasefire. There was also controversy after Sir Keir appeared to claim in October that Israel had the right to cut off power and water from Gaza, although he later said he was instead supporting Israel's right to self-defence. Obviously, we've been through that on the live stream tonight as to why that's absolute complete horse crap. Well done to the Labour front bench MPs and councillors who've resigned over that initial reluctance to call for a ceasefire. I know that Yasmin Qureshi was one of the shadow front bench MPs who resigned her position and is now away from the front bench. She's a Member of Parliament in the northwest of England as well. And just further on in the article, wanted to remind you that this by-election follows the recent death of previous incumbent Sir Tony Lloyd, who did not vote for a ceasefire. He was one of the abstainees as well. You can check out more details on that on our video that we put out about 5 days ago on the Rochdale by-election, and also on our video that we put out before that, where we go through some of the Labour MPs who have realised that there's an election coming up later this year and have all of a sudden started to call for more aid to go to Gaza and to call for a Palestinian state as well as a ceasefire, despite previously leaning towards Sir Kier Starmer's Zionist stance. They're obviously worried that the majority's going to be affected by this, not just from Muslim voters, but from voters from all faiths and no faiths. One thing that I don't like to see on this issue and others is this race baiting. This isn't an Islam versus Judaism kind of thing at all. That's absolutely disgusting to try and drum that up. Obviously, there is a lot of support from Muslims from Arab countries, especially in support of Palestine, but it's not that linear, it's not that binary, and people from all kinds of faith or no faith, just basically anyone who's got a decent moral compass, has been standing up and calling for a ceasefire as well. So that just confirms in the article as well that the Green Party candidate Guy Otten, that was the guy, I forgot his name earlier, sorry, recently confirmed he was withdrawing from the contest after, quote, some regrettable social media posts I made a number of years ago. I'm not sure what those comments actually were, like I pointed out earlier. If you do know, please drop us a line in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this on a replay. It says there, however, his name will still appear on the ballot paper as the decision followed the deadline for nominations. But yeah, again, just want to point out the sort of environmental candidate is Mark Coleman, who's the retired Anglican priest who you saw a picture of earlier when we were just talking about the George Galloway stuff as well. So he's going to be the candidate who's campaigning on green environmental issues, but also just want to remind you that he does support a ceasefire in Palestine and for the recognition of a Palestinian state as well. FSM is the dog just pointed out 2 Kirklees councillors have quit Labour as well. Yeah, well done, fair play to them. Unfortunately, there is still a lot of careerists left in the Labour Party. A lot of those who were speaking out in support of Palestine under Jeremy Corbyn's leadership have been placated, have been pacified under threats from Kier Starmer and the Tory whips. Angela Rayner is one of them, I should point out. She's another North West Member of Parliament. She's also shadow deputy leader of the Labour Party, so perhaps she's worried about losing that position. But she has to realise that there's a great amount of support in Ashton-under-Lyne, which is in Manchester, and we've seen in the recent weeks and months the amount of support coming from Manchester as well as London and other cities has been very clear in favour of support for Palestine. So they really do need to check themselves, and they really need to have a good look at their moral position on all of this. Yeah. So that's just about it from the live stream tonight. I'm going to close out by playing the video of the parody song that I started with at the top of the show. This has been our very first ever live stream. Yeah, it's been fantastic to see you all here tonight. We've had a few hundred views on this so far, which is a fantastic response. Thanks a lot so much for your comments as well. Just want to quickly get back to one quick mention in the chat. Assad Ali has pointed out that Guy Otten, who's the Green Party candidate, said some Islamophobic comments, and that is why he's withdrawing from the contest. Thanks a lot, Assad, for pointing that out to us. Obviously, that's appalling. If he has made racist comments, Islamophobic comments, then obviously he shouldn't be standing as a candidate for any party. We don't want racists representing people in the United Kingdom, so it's good that he's been shown the door by the Green Party. Thanks a lot, Assad, for pointing that out to us just as we get towards the end of the stream. And yeah, just to point out as well, it says that he's not campaigning, but he is on the ballot. But I severely doubt that anyone will vote for him if they found that out about him. You know, there is an environmental alternative for people who were going to vote for the Green Party, who are obviously all about green issues. So they've got the alternative with Mark Coleman there. But that's just one of the other elements that makes this by-election in Rochdale in a couple of weeks so interesting. And we'll try and keep you up to speed with all of the latest news on that. It's going to be an interesting night. I don't often stay up late to check out the results of by-elections. I normally wait until the following morning, you know, until the count is fully completed. But I might even go down there myself and try and get some interviews with some of the candidates. To be honest, I'm quite tempted to go over to Rochdale and be there on the night and try and bring you some reports as that happens as well. So yeah, as I said, that's just about it for tonight on the live stream. Thanks again for being here, everybody, and for your support. We are a fairly new channel. We're waiting for the watch time hours that we've accrued in the last week or so, since we got so many extra subscribers to come through. But hope to be back with you. I'm going to try and do another live stream next Sunday, and by that time we should have reached the requirements for the partnership program, so you'll be able to get memberships on the channel. That's going to come with a few perks. There's going to be some static emojis that you can use in the chat. We're going to have some exclusive content, exclusive streams for members only. You can also gift memberships. You can gift memberships to other people in the chat, and there's going to be a lot of perks for that as well. So we'll hopefully have that next Sunday. I'm going to try and stick to the same day and same time. If that suits you guys, then that's good enough for me, and hopefully we'll see you then. But until next time, take care, everyone. Like I said, I'm going to lead us out with this parody song, which, like I said earlier, got stuck in my head. I've been listening to it quite a few times over the last week, and these are heavy-hitting subjects. Obviously, we should all do what we can to stand up and show support for Palestine, but you've got to have a laugh now and then at pointing fun at the world leaders, because if I wasn't laughing, I'd be crying, I tell you. We'll be back with you next week. Thanks a lot for joining us on My Left Eye. We'll have some more content coming out during the week as well, so thanks a lot for subscribing to us. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of that. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.
All right, listen, man. Looking in your eyes, I see that we're aligned. This war that we fund is too good to be true. America's beside you, all these bombs to give you. Our whole GDP will just wire to you.
Let them say we're psychos. I don't care about that. History started when Hamas launched their attack. Let the whole damn region just fall apart, where the persecuted ones so have a heart. And we can win this thing together. Ethnic cleanse forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now. And when the strip runs out of Gazans, we'll go kill their cousins. The Hague ain't gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us now. Low, low. I'm so glad we're bombing. This war is super calming. A ceasefire would mean I'd be going to jail.
Folks say it's unlawful, and yeah, the polls are awful, but Trump's on the ballot. Of course I'll prevail.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let them say it's genocide. What do they know? So you bomb the Gazans right where you tell them to go.
If we kill a hostage, or maybe 3, that's the price we pay to save ethnocracy.
You mean democracy?
And we can win this thing together. Human rights, whatever. Nothing's going to stop us now. So let the courts keep pressing charges.
These block our barges.
Nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's going to stop us now.
All that I need is you.
You're all that I ever need.
And all that I want to do is back you forever, forever and ever. Play it, Tony.
Yes, Mr. Blinken, yes.
Oh, yeah, that's smooth.
Smooth like a 2,000-pound bomb. And we'll just keep committing war crimes, then go do some more crimes. Nothing's gonna stop us now. And you can save your moral sermons, 'cause we've got the Germans. The Hague ain't gonna stop us.
Nothing's gonna stop us.
And we'll create a global crisis, claim Hamas is ISIS. Nothing's going to stop us now.
And if South Africa accuses,
they just hate the Jews. The Hague ain't gonna stop us.
Nothing's gonna stop
we'll
us
just keep
now.
on genociding.
Baby rights with Biden.
Nothing's gonna stop us now.
Nothing's gonna stop us now.
And if our wrath gets any lower, we'll invoke the Shoah. The Hague ain't gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us now. Or ever.
That's how you sing a goddamn song.
You are correct, sir.
I think that's the take right there, man.
Where's our Nobel Peace Prize?
High five.
Okay, night everyone. Don't forget, full credit to Andrew Marte for that track there, and we will see you next time on My Left Eye. See you, folks.